Sanctum of Domination is out, and if you want to succeed, you have to know these 5 things. Number 1, know your intentions. This one seems obvious, yet a lot of people underestimate how huge of a role this plays. Now, what I'm about to say is important you get it right, otherwise you build the wrong habits unknowingly. Before you even step into the new raid, make sure you know what your goals for the tier are. Now, if your goals don't include looking to climb the guild ranks, you should play like a team player and throw healing locks out of the window. However, if you know you deserve a better guild and want to move forward, your focus should be on getting good healing locks. Now, let me stop you in your thinking. I know that you've heard that healing locks are irrelevant, and they sort of are. But when climbing the guilds that aren't as good, most of them won't even bother taking you in if you are not parsing well on healing. Even if you are doing mechanics, parsing well on DPS, and so on. Why? Because they simply don't know any better, and think that all that makes a hero good is his healing parse number. And this is why I'm recommending to sort of be selfish. If you are in a poor ranked guild, you should focus on parsing as well as you can. On these ranks, word of mouth doesn't matter, and you get recruited by better guilds, simply off of your healing locks rather than your current guild rank. But when you do this, you have to be fully aware that what you are doing is not the best thing for your guild, and that once you get into the better spectrum of guilds, you want to start being a team player again. Do mechanics if it means your raid benefits from it. Use your CD sub optimally just to keep your raid alive, focus on doing more damage, and so on. And then eventually, once you start playing in better guilds, you want to switch back to playing fully optimally. This is also where the word of mouth starts becoming relevant. With those guilds, people will notice that you are a versatile player who is willing to always do what's best for the team. And if you leave the guild on a good notice, the word of mouth will go a long way for you. Next up, an obvious one. Learn the fights. If you at least somewhat learn the fights before stepping into the raid, you have a huge edge over the competition. There are multiple ways of how you can go about this, ranging from PTR testing, studying logs, reading guides, watching videos overall or watching class specific boss guides, and so on. I'm going to be doing ones for the Druids, and if I'm not mistaken, Alizmir will be doing the same for the Holy Paladins. Not sure about the other classes though. If you think that it's not as important, or it doesn't apply to you because you are learning by doing type, then frankly, you're just lazy. In the end, I'd argue that most people are learning by doing types. However, that doesn't mean you don't need to watch guides or do any sort of preparation. You want to have every edge possible before starting a fight. This is how you climb and become better, by being prepared and knowing the fights. Basically being able to perform from the get-go, when other people are still struggling and dying to basic shit. There are also amazing tools for being able to learn by doing before the raid even releases. If you have the time, you should try and pack the boss fights on PTR when the raid testing is happening, because it will give you a rough idea on what to expect. If you can't do that, then you still have tools like Casa Pineapple or now Sanctum of Pineapples, which will introduce you to the mechanics. Other than noteworthy mention is Mythic Trap. Make sure to check those 2 out. Just please, do not underestimate preparation. It's not a fluke that Limit and Echo can both clear new raids in 1 week's time. They spend days upon days just theory crafting and coming up with insane strategies that most of us end up using for the whole raid tier with barely any changes. Next up, record yourself. This may come as no surprise to a lot of you, but you make a lot more mistakes than you think you do. This is why recording yourself is so powerful. Going back to the point I was making at start with mindset, your main goal should always be improvement. And sometimes, when it feels like you are doing everything right, it's easy to start to feel frustrated and not clearing the boss. This is when instead of being frustrated, going through your recordings and realizing how much mistakes you are making will help you alleviate that frustration and put you back on track. Why? Because you suddenly stop putting killing the boss as your main priority, but instead you will start setting small goals for yourself that will push you forward. Such as, man, I really need to improve my efforts and uptime, this is terrible. Or even, that you are wasting too much holy power and it's just not okay to do that. Recording yourself will allow you to see those small mistakes, some of which you can't even find in logs. Be active on your class Discord. Most class Discords are extremely helpful to keep you on top of the game. You should utilize them to their full extent. Constantly keep asking questions when you are even slightly unsure about anything. Check the pins every now and then, and make sure you are using the best setup such as soulbinds, legendaries, and so on. You never know if perhaps one of those small ideas is something groundbreaking. And that's why you should always ask and discuss it with like-minded people, if they can see your point as well, or if they think you are out of your mind, high on something. Don't be scared to ask questions. I myself often ask totally dumb shit that you would laugh at because I'm simply unsure and want to know for a fact that what I'm doing is the right thing. The worst case you want to happen is to be doing something wrong for a long time and then having problems breaking the habit. Class Discords are also an excellent place to ask if people can help you spot your mistakes, as sometimes you won't be able to find anything to improve through watching your own replays, but people better than you probably can find and will guide you in the right direction. Last but not least, analyze better players. This one is kind of a mix-up of everything we've talked about so far. You want to constantly be checking logs of better people who are performing well on those fights, comparing good CD usages, various spell times, and so on. You can do a lot of this through WoW Analyzer. When looking at logs, the main things I would recommend you to look at are how are they using their CDs and why. Again, don't just copy what they do. Ask yourself why they don't do X instead of Y at a certain point, and so on. And if you can't answer yourself, head over to class Discord and ask the people there to help you understand the thought process. Number 2, again, make sure what you are playing is the best setup. So binds, legendaries. Check what they are running, as generally there is one build you want to run for the majority of the raid, but sometimes there are outliers that completely change how you play your class. Example, Sun King in Castle Nafria. The common pattern amongst all of these things I mentioned is that you want to make sure that your mind is in the right place, and that whatever you are practicing is the right thing. So you can then build onto the good habits and keep improving them, or if you are doing something wrong, you have a damn good reason for doing it wrong. Example, playing for healing logs to climb guild ranks. If you are familiar with the competence scale, you basically want to avoid unconscious incompetence at all costs, and every single second raiding should be spent focusing on improving on your play, rather than on anything else. I can guarantee you that if you apply those things, you will start rapidly climbing the guild ranks. With all of that being said, good luck in Sanctum. Cheers.